My name is DFree, and if you have any combination of these characters that you see currently on the screen, you are eating amazingly well. You are able to build some of the strongest teams currently in Dragon Ball Legends. Now, you may be wondering what those teams are. What's the importance of these characters? And today, we're going to answer that question. I hope you guys enjoy, and if you're new, be sure to subscribe for more. Today's video like goal is 1,000. Without further ado, let's hop in. So a quick disclaimer, aside from the current party at the very top, if you have any of these characters that exist in the bottom 3 teams, you are eating amazing, like I said, but I want to throw the disclaimer that we don't have the Ultra characters, Rose and Hit. There might be one more that I'm missing, and then also Purple Cell. So they're technically those open spaces you see around Piccolo and Jiren in that bottom row there. So those characters are also in this list, but if you have some combination of these characters, again, aside from the current party at the top, you are in an amazing position. That's a great starting point. If you have some combination of that first, really the second row, but that first team there with, this is not really a team completely, but you know, the Trunks there, the Goku and Frieza, the UI, if you have some combination of those characters, at least 2 of them, you are in an amazing position, because that's your jumping off point. Most of the characters that you see on the screen, especially on that evil row, you know, the first one there, aside from the current party at the top, I might just bleep that part out just so you don't get confused. Anyway, most of those characters are not replaceable, by the way. So if you don't have some of those characters, you pretty much can't replace them, because what they do is so amazing, so profound, there isn't a replacement, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the Universe Survival Saga team. Now, Universe Survival Saga is immensely strong, and they got some amazing character releases. Obviously, Goku and Frieza are at the very top of that list, but Vegito Blue is not a part of this grouping, but don't worry, because the leader slot being in the game means you can put Vegito Blue or Goku and Frieza, who are, in my opinion, 1A, 1B best characters in the game currently. You can put them on whatever team you want. So we're going to just go ahead and grab them and put them together, because the best team, in my opinion, includes a combination of those 2 characters for sure, hands down. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, those are up to you. But those 2, hands down, are mandatory, in my opinion, for the best team in the game, because they're just so strong. Everything they do is amazing. So let's go ahead and put, for the 3rd character, somebody you may or may not believe goes here, Android 17, an amazing character release. Actually was way ahead of his time, because he's still amazing all this time later after his release as well, as shown by the fact they keep hiding him on side banners or bringing him back to cell banners, things like that. So this guy is crazy strong. Probably it's either him or Trunks, but basically probably the strongest single wall for Vegito Blue in the game. And with this team, you have everything you need. You have amazing offensive utility. You have good pivot options. If you go to 17, you'll draw the blast card, keep your combo going. You have all the meta effects, basically, except for revive, I guess. You have everything you need. You have rising rush control. You've got everything. So amazing team. In fact, this may be, there's probably another team that's kind of close. This may be the single best rising rush control team in the game, because Vegito's going to lock it all the time. Just no cap on that. He's going to keep doing it. Also Goku and Frieza, obviously, and then you have an endurance character too that can't be nullified, basically. So incredibly powerful trio. So what do you do for the last slots here? Now, I like to put this guy on the team, but the issue you run into when you start putting him and some other characters on this team at this spot is you're going to have less offense for Vegito Blue. What I mean by that is you want to give Vegito Blue as much strike attack increases as possible. The UI Goku is an amazing character. Him and Trunks got done right with their Zenkais during the anniversary. Amazing character. I personally really enjoy him on this team, but if you want to min-max Vegito Blue, maybe you don't run either him or 17, because you start picking up, again, a little too much blast attack, and if I had to make the choice, I would drop him instead of 17, because I think 17 is amazing. So anyway, that's pretty much what that looks like, what you would want to do. And then the last couple of slots, it's up to you. Do you want to run some strong Z abilities like MUI Goku or Bergamo or Blue Beerus, who offers strike attack, defense, and special move, which Vegito would get because he's in the leader slot, things like that. MUI Goku has strike attack, I believe, and double offensive Z abilities too. You can also go the EX route. I don't know if a lot of people know this. I know a lot of people do, but there's obviously a lot of people that don't, where the EX characters at high limit breaks some of them start offering 50% increases. You would be grabbing Android 14, EX Android 14, and also EX Majin Buu, things like that, because the team is primarily blue-purple, and you would be good. So look at what happens right here for Vegito Blue. When we plug those guys in, we're getting 50%, so that's a lot, right? You can also opt to do a Zenkai buff, Now, if you're going to Zenkai buff Vegito Blue specifically, it gets kind of wonky because you're kind of killing the theme of the team, and you might as well shift to the next team on the list, which is going to be Future Saga. So let's go. Well, not really Saga, just the Future Z ability, because there's a pretty big difference, I guess. Let's go ahead and go over to Future, and we're still plugging in Vegito Blue because he's an amazing character. Shout out to Rose. I think I need to put a placeholder for Rose because I do not have Ultra Rose once again. And I also want to throw a bone to Red Cell, who's probably the second best red in this grouping, but that's what I mean when I say there's not actually a replacement. He's nowhere near as good as Vegito Blue, but like he's probably the next best red. So do with that what you will. So I'm gonna leave. I kind of want to leave them because I kind of feel like just putting them on the team regardless. But no, we're going to drop them. We're going to plug Zamasu, who's also probably another one of the top tanks in the game in terms of Vegito Blue. And this is also kind of one thing that's going to wind up happening that you're going to see in a minute, is you have with this team the ultimate I hate Vegito Blue core. The last spot is going to be... I think this is another placeholder. I think you do this. You plug Cell there, and then again, the Rose is supposed to be Ultra Rose. And then the last slot's up to you. Zenkai buff, Z ability, EX, health Z ability, whatever, right? The last spot's up to you. You can have a core team like this. And if you want to have the option to have a more well-rounded team, some people like having a character of every color group. We're obviously missing a yellow with this grouping. Who is the yellow? It is either... There's not a great option here. I'm probably still going Future Gohan personally. Anyway, so what you kind of have here is with the actual new LF Cell, you've got an final counter character that's insanely strong, crazy combos, ridiculous character. You also have a fun team here where you have the anti/I hate Vegito Blue with the double blues. If you don't want to run that, I wouldn't be mad at you. That's perfectly fine. You can drop Zamasu and just leave Trunks. Trunks is good enough. He's the only blue you really need on this team. But ultimately, if you have a team like that where you've got the Ultra Rose, the new Cell, Vegito Blue in the lead, you've got Trunks there, the last couple slots, up to you. I don't think you need a yellow. I think you should probably prioritize double attack C abilities in those last couple of slots, and you would be amazingly well off with a mixed offensive team. You have some solid utility, defense, everything. So that's what I would kind of consider when it comes to Future Saga. Let's move over to Android next, because I talked about that 17, but I want to kind of show you how that kind of looks for him. So again, in the back of our mind, once again, with all these teams, is the possibility to plug VB or Goku and Frieza or any like 17. You could plug any of these characters in the leader slot and be successful. So obviously trial and error, find what works for you. So we're coming here again. The placeholder there, yellow, purple cell is still the placeholder for the new purple cell. I just don't have them, so I can't really, I can't show them. So Androids is actually lit. Like Androids is legit. So the funny thing about Androids, I haven't seen somebody do this, but I would probably just run Vegito Blue. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. I think I would leave Vegito Blue in the leader slot. Because the best red here is Red Cell, who's not bad at all. It's just, I can run Vegito Blue here, so why not? Because he's insane, right? But if you don't have VB, obviously, that changes things. You would want to run Red Cell or a sleeper candidate. She's actually super duper good, and her strike seals are really strong, and she does some other fun stuff in her kit too. Super good character. Anyway, so right now we have an Android team that's more blast based. That's kind of the issue with putting VB on some of these teams. Like I said, this is basically a fully blast based team, so I wouldn't be opposed to somebody dropping him just completely off, because it does wind up being, again, not to his strong suit. With the best version of Androids being blast based, you would want to probably take him off and build around these characters. And actually, I have a very specific fifth to put in this team. This guy with his Zenkai just came back, by the way. I need to do it. He's going to offer health to the team and a Zenkai buff to the Gamma 1 and 2. You definitely want that. This team, for the record, is not the replaceable character. The not replaceable characters, are 17 and Gamma 1 and 2, and also Cell. Like, you can't replace those characters. There is no actual like good enough replacement. So that sounds funny to say, but basically what that means is that if you don't have those characters, it's going to be kind of tough to run the team. If you have 2 of those characters, I think you could be good, because I thought the team was good before Cell released. I thought that they were good enough before Cell released. So if you have 2 of those characters, especially if you have 17 as one of those 2, you're in a great spot. If you have Gamma and Cell, but no 17, it might get a little tricky. Admittedly. You maybe plug in another blue there. I don't know if that's Zamasu. I think Trunks would still get his effect from Cell, right? Being a future character, things like that. It gets a little tricky. 17, definitely, because Vegito Blue is in so many matches, because the rush is so important, things like that, the inability to get nullified. You really have to have him as a backbone. So anyway, moving on. Again, same deal, open spot, plug who you want, just kind of is what it is. That's the beauty of the game currently, is that there is a lot of versatility with what you can do. Now, I want to kind of shift from here to a more specific variation of some teams that we've already shown. So I previously was showing you teams, well, I guess there's one more I could kind of do. I was previously showing you teams, though, that feature a lot of options, right? But I want to show you more specific teams. But before we do that, I am going to show you the Regen team here and kind of what's going on with Regen, another team that is in a really solid position currently because of the options that they have. Now, towards the bottom of this list, you have Piccolo, you have Kid Buu, you have the Zamasu character as well. And there are some other characters, obviously, like Purple Cell. I don't have him for the 5th time. And some Zenkais for like Yellow Cell, things like that, that are really good as well if you don't have some of these characters. But just be careful, be wary of the fact, if you're going to run a team like this, it's going to be a good team, but it's going to struggle versus those top 2-3 characters if you just don't have any on your team, basically. You could argue Cell's probably up there. And also, I guess Kid Buu would be if VB didn't just completely decimate him. But anyway, so yeah, but without that, it's going to kind of be tough for you. So anyway, keep that in mind. I'm not really going to dive too deep into Regen. I want to move over to, like I said, some more specific team comps. So previously, like I said, I was showing you some of the just literal best with having a bunch of options. What I want to do here is I want to show you how it looks like if we just focus on 3. The reason why is because a lot of players only focus on 3, and then the last few spots they completely allocate to being buffers. They don't use anybody but their predetermined 3. I personally have never liked playing that way, but I do have to give some credit. It is obviously very successful, and it works for a lot of players. So I want to show you an example of a predetermined 3 in just a moment here. This team is designed to make Goku and Frieza go insane. Blue Cooler doesn't have to be here. You could replace him for EX14 if you want as well, and that kind of works out pretty good. But the top 3 is the most important thing. That blue Frieza, or excuse me, purple Frieza is going to make the other 2 guys pop crazy with the extra support. Purple Frieza kind of also still has some interesting utility, and you have really strong Z abilities as well on this team. That is an example of a very specific, top 3-row character team. I did switch it up because when I was building the 17 variant, I was like, I kind of want to put UI Goku back on the team and then just use the EXs, which I already covered earlier. Here's a look at the 3-piece for androids. Once again, new Cell is supposed to be there instead of old Cell. You're giving that Cell a double Zenkai buff as well. The Gammas are getting the Zenkai buff from the Zenkai Awoken Yellow First Form Cell that I don't own. And last but not least, that top trio is going to shred. So this team is probably the dark horse character team that you're going to want to run into, or you're going to want to use and not run into, excuse me, if you're using some of the other top characters, because they can absolutely decimate Vegito and Goku and Frieza, stuff like that. So definitely do not sleep on this type of team. And here I hop back over to Universe Survival for the no VB variant. So we put 17 in the lead, and we're getting Zenkai buffs to the rest of the characters / strong Z abilities. And this is a really strong, very meta version of a, I guess you could say anti-meta a little bit. Anyway, a strong variation of this team without VB. UI Goku slides into being a main performer. By the way, Goku and Frieza are getting that blue Goku Zenkai ability because they're technically a blue Saiyan. Frieza's blue, Goku isn't, but whatever. Anyway, so yeah, basically top 3, and then these characters on the back end. I offered the Bergamo for the Z ability for HP to apply a little bit more tankiness. As usual, you can apply one of those EX characters or whatever else you want in that last slot, but this is an example. Now, I know you guys are probably wondering why I haven't covered Fusion Warrior, because on the surface, if we go over to Fusion Warrior has some pretty high-end stuff. They have some really, really high-end talent in the Fusion Warrior grouping. I mean, we could pull up just ultras. They got like 5 of them. Yeah, they've legit got 5 ultras here. Well, what's the problem? Seriously, I want to ask you, what do you think is the problem? Well, first and foremost, to answer the question, there is a gigantic chasm between Vegito Blue and the other 3 characters. There is also another really big chasm between Gogeta Blue and then the other 2 Super Saiyan 1 characters. So that's kind of the situation you're in. If you want to run this team, it's flashy, it looks nice, and yeah, I can probably give some recommendations to how to finish this out, especially if you've got these characters at higher stars than me, and you will definitely, I don't want to say definitely, you will probably be successful on the sheer merits on the back of Vegito and Gogeta Blue. That is not to take anything away from the other 2 characters. I think, for the record, I think Ultra Super Gogeta is probably a little power crept, but he does have some really strong stuff in his kit, like the no switch, the extra ultimate, all the blast armor. There's stuff in his kit that's amazing. And I think, actually, Super Vegito is probably like a fringe top 10 character. So not to take anything away from him, my only issue with Super Vegito currently is that, again, VB is an every damn match. So I think personally, your best bet is to slide those top 2 characters. They're fine, whatever. And then you can use one of the other characters we highlighted earlier, Goku and Frieza, most notably. And you would go from there, and then you fill out the team with stronger Z abilities. But yeah, that's kind of what's kind of happening here. I think that there's just, well, I don't want to, okay, so let me say this. I think the gap between those 2nd and 3rd character on this team is a little closer than I gave it credit for being, because I can't say that Vegito is fringe top 10 when both of those characters are fringe top 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can't be a huge gap between those 2. So the point with this team is that it's Vegito Blue or bust. That's the point. That doesn't mean that these other characters can't do anything. It just means that they're not as good as the other characters that you have options for, right? That's more or less how it is, and that's not a surprise. Game has crazy power creep. These characters are almost all of them, especially the last 2, are over a year old. So, is what it is. And again, saying that Vegito is actually fringe top 10, I really do think he's there, is actually kind of good, because he's doing that in the meta with a red character that's in every damn match. So, yeah, I wanted to cover Fusion Warrior because I knew that was going to be a hot topic, and because they have so much high-end talent, a lot of people were going to want to point them out. But if you noticed, I mainly gravitated towards Future and Android and Universe Survival Saga because I think currently those are the top 3 teams in the game. And as you guys saw earlier when I showed the list of characters, a good portion of the characters here, especially the top end ones, are going to exist in those 3 different tag groups. So that's my opinion on it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously, there are a lot more teams you can build with varying success that you can plug Vegito or Goku and Frieza or Android 17. Some of these characters, maybe Trunks, into and be successful. That was not the point, but I wanted to highlight them. The very last one that I'm going to highlight that is actually still pretty solid too is movies. And the thing with movies is that you kind of hit a situation here where you might as well just run a different team. It's kind of funny to say, but some of their best characters are like Android or whatever. You might as well kind of probably just run a different team. It is what it is. So if you were to try to build out movies, what does that look like? Well, you're basically just omitting all of their old characters and coming straight to the bottom for their brand new releases here, or their newest releases here, and using some variation of these characters. Shout out to Beast. He's pretty solid. He's kind of sketchy. Trunks is better now, so if you want to run a blue hybrid, he's better. But again, we're on movies, so that's not really the thing. We're going to plug Pan in for her strong Z ability. She's also an okay support if you want to run her. But then you start looking and it's like, oh, okay. It looks like I should just run androids, right? Now, save for the fact that I left BB in the leader slot. You could definitely take him off and put somebody else there, but it just gets worse, right? So movies is like that tier 2 type of team where you almost might as well run a better team. But if you don't have like 17, then it's going to, or new cell, I guess, too. It'd be a struggle to run androids, right? But that's kind of the situation that you're in with this team. And then there's duplication, like, this guy's good too. There's duplication with some of these colors. And again, they both share a color with VB, who I think should just be in the leader slot. So what do we do from here? You could omit one of these characters and make it a 3-piece like I've shown here and do something like that. But again, the problem becomes, should I just run androids? It's basically androids with VB on it. It is what it is. So I want to also, now that the topic is here, bring up hybrids. This is not a team I think you guys should personally be running, but I do think hybrids can be an interesting one. I'm going to plug them in real quick. This is your three-piece for this team. You've got some of the same things that you get with some of the other teams. Here you have Endurance and Revive. You also have some support. You've got VB going crazy, and it's VB on hybrids. It just kind of winds up being the same thing is the point. You can plug Goku and Frieza there for a comparable effect too, but it still is kind of the same thing. Actually, Goku and Frieza makes this another hyper offensive anti-RR variation. And the point I wanted to get across here, if you haven't already understood it, is that VB and/or Goku and Frieza on teams together is what really you want to do, unless you're running androids where they've got 4 solid characters. Otherwise, you wouldn't have some combination of those 2 specifically on a team, and that's just the best version no matter what. I want to throw a shout out to you and also to Yellow Future Gohan. They are characters that could also be on a full pure hybrid team, but pure is kind of just, it's a step down. It is a step down. But if you want to run those, be my guest. I didn't really cover them too much in this video because I do a lot of videos covering those, and I wanted to, for today's video, show you an example of where the game is at and what you should be using. It's a pretty harsh reality, I'm sure, because Vegito is in every damn team. Him or Goku and Frieza. There was never a team I showed that didn't have one of them. So ultimately, unless you have androids, Vegito or Goku and Frieza, it's going to be a damn hard time to rank up in PvP. It's going to be super tough because even when I showcase characters, I plug at least one of those characters on my team to carry me. So I'll leave you guys with that. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more content if you are new. And I'll see all of you in the next one, guys.